Hey, what's going on YouTube? Belton here, coming with you guys with a hopeful world first mirror craft involving the new kind of tech that's sort of evolved around the essence of horror that gives the 100% increased effective socketed items, as well as pairing that with some of these new cool runes. Now, I did a video already on the boot craft. We're doing a glove craft here. If you missed my boot crafting video, I will put that below. But that involved making several double-socketed 6 tier 1s. You can see here, tier 1 energy shield, 55% movement speed, 324 energy shield with T1 ES, T1 ES, perfect rolls, T1 int, 100% socketed items, and the chaos res. You can see we got the double socket, and I did that 3 times. Now, the next thing that we wanted to do, because the essence of horror can apply to both gloves and to boots, I also made a video talking about how I was anticipating doing it with gloves. Because they hadn't announced any of the new soul cores or whatever, runes, talismans that were coming out for gloves yet. And so I thought it was a pretty safe bet to prepare some of these to try and make some really cool ones. There are some really neat mods on gloves, but gloves are an incredibly difficult craft. Now, normally when I do these videos, I get some feedback that it's kind of irritating to watch them at times because they're like 2 hours long. So I actually got this to the final stage. You can see right here, I have tier 1 attack speed, +2 to melee skills, 100% increased effective socketed items, T1 cold damage, T1 fizz damage, and then we've got a little mana there. I've got 675 divs. I've got 350 omens of whittling, over 120 omens of sinestral erasure, and then we've got the socket on there, item level 77 Vaal'd glove. And then the talisman that you could put in there that I'd be thinking about would either be 8% attack speed, which would go to 16% on a single socket, 32% on a double socket, meaning that this could have 48% attack speed, or skills which empower an attack, give you 15% chance to not count that attack. So barrage, for example, counts as empowering an attack. So that would be 30% on a single one, 60% on a double socket, which means like you could theoretically like chain barrages together, or other types of empowering. Very, very strong craft. Now, just to tell you about how difficult this has been, you can see the first step, obviously you have to find a magic pair of gloves or a normal pair of gloves, because essences can only be used on normal or magic items. We want item level 77 because we want to be able to item level restrict our prefixes to not be able to roll this energy shield and life tier 1, which is level 78, because if you had it 78 or higher, it could brick the prefixes below, but it has to be at least item level 77 to get the cold flat, meaning it could only be item level 77. Now, with the suffixes, you'll see here that it is a very high weighting pool, 83,500 total weight. Now, if we reduce that to 77, it's 76,000, so lower weight there. But the problem with this craft and why it's so difficult is because there's really 3 suffixes that would be ideal to pair, like 2 of the 3 of them. Attack speed, I would say, is basically mandatory, in particular because you'd be pairing that with the attack speed talisman. And then you've also got one of the 2, either +2 to melee skills or crit bonus. The melee skills is harder to come by. Obviously, gem levels are harder to scale than crit bonus is. And naturally, with things like the Serpent Strike thing, Wind Serpent Strike for Deadeye, or Whirling Slash, or the any one of the spear melee skills, as well as a variety of other things. There's obviously lots of different melee skills. The plus gems is ideal there in my estimation. But you can see here the item level for tier 1 attack speed is only item level 60, and the item level for tier 1 crit bonus is 59. And even crazier, the item level for +2 to melee skills is 41. Now, because the 100% to effective socketed items is actually an item level 1 mod, that means that the only way you can ever change your suffixes, you have to fracture that modifier, right? If you want to be able to like whittle or whatever. Otherwise, whittle is always going to remove the 100% socketed item since it's the lowest item level. So the first thing you got to do is get one of the bases for this type, which there are only 4 of now in the entire site. Then you have to buy the 25 to 50 div essence, and then you have to then fracture it successfully. 1 in 4 attempts to do that. That's just to get this effective socketed items. Then you've got to wipe the modifiers on there, and then you've got a chaos spam until you hit either tier 1 attack speed or tier 1 melee, which is melee skills is only a 250 weighting out of 76,000, But when you're chaosing, it also includes prefixes. So that's like 130,000, 250 out of 130,000 just for the chaos. And then after that, you've then got to do another chaos or exalt rather, and then try to whittle a 500 weighted mod for the attack speed. And not only that, but because this is only item level 41, that means that you've got literally hundreds of modifiers that are a higher item level. So whittle won't work, which means if you roll any one of those higher mods before you hit the 500 out of 120,000, you got to go start again or just 50-50 that. And so that was an incredibly taxing process. Took a ton of time, ton of currency. You can see here how many of these gloves I bricked just trying to get the fracture. And then other ones where I got like tier 1 attack speed, tier 3 crit bonus, tier 2 crit bonus, tier 1 attack speed, +2 melee, tier 2 crit bonus. And finally today I got the perfect double tier 1. The cold is item level 77, whereas the other flat damage types are item level 76. So you want to get the cold first. And that way the subsequent prefixes will be a lower item level so the whittle can target them. To this point, I would have to go back through a few days of VODs, but it's been thousands of divines to get to this point. This exact combination, if we are able to get the triple flat tier 1 with a +2 attack speed and 100, it'll be the first one ever made. I think there's a couple pairs that have the crit bonus and attack speed. But again, because the melee is item level 41, right? Whereas the crit bonus is 59 and the attack speed 60, which compared to 77 is still limiting. There's still a lot of mods higher. Obviously, though, item level 41 means there's a shit ton of mods higher. And so, yeah, another thing we'll have to consider here while we roll through this is that the maximum mana right now, that's going to be a lower item level mod. So you can see the whittle will hover it. However, anytime that this third prefix exceeds item level 41, the whittle by itself would then remove melee skills. So we'll also have to combine that with a sinestral erasure. I've used around like 250 whittles already just to get to this point, just to get the double tier 2. And that just on the prefixes, sorry. On the suffixes, again, I'd have to go through and count it, but it's a high number. In any case, though, I thought you guys might enjoy, kind of joining me for this last mod here. I know people on Twitch who are watching this live are probably eager for me to get going, so I'm going to sip of my Coke Zero here. And hopefully we can get this video under 20 minutes for you guys. And you can partake in what will be a world first. Let's get it. Oh, and we immediately hit triple tier 1. That's tier 1 flat energy shield, of course. I'm not going to keep that with what we're going for here, but not the worst start. And as you can see there too, just a basic whittle will remove that. So we combine it with the sinestral erasure, and now it rerolls the lowest prefix. Oh, melee skills again. I did the math ahead of time, by the way, guys. The average amount that it will take is 116 whittlings. And given the item level breakdown, it was, let's see, it was 72% of the time we'll just need a whittle. 28% of the time, 28% of the time we'll need a whittle plus a sinestral. And so with 116... that means that we're going to need 32 sinestrals on average and 115 whittlings to be able to hit either tier 1 lightning or tier 1 fire flat here. Just so you can have some kind of visual. Because I know it can be when you see, or at least based on my perceptions of what a lot of you think when I do these kinds of videos, it's a little hard to gauge when something is lucky or unlucky, since most people haven't done any significant amount of crafting with omens. And just seeing me, spend 20 or 30 divs every 5 seconds is probably a little disillusioning and maybe hard to follow or relate to at times, but hopefully you're adequately invested if you're still watching at this point. And again, it's always cool to do something that's never been done before, especially when it's really strong like this. So hopefully we can get this bad boy done. Oh, that's again, that's triple tier 1, that's tier 1 life. But again, not oh, is that tier 1 life again? It is. Oh, tier 4 lightning. Quick little pit stop here. Every single time I have to use a whittle, right? So that's why I just pre-click them like this. But we only need to use the sinestral erasures and the whittle. What was the amount? Sorry. 28% of the time, so that's why we don't pre-click those, so we don't accidentally waste any. I could be like shift clicking here to do it a little bit faster, but there's always the concern that you get into like a rhythm with that and then accidentally you'll click an extra time or something. Again, every single time I'm clicking here, it's a minimum of 5 divs. When I have to do the sinestral erasure too, it's like 9 divs. So the 350 we had was like about a mirror, and then the 120 or whatever, it's like another, yeah, 1.25 mirrors or something like that, just to get this final prefix. If it were easy, everyone would do it. There's another tier 1, so that's the better tier 1 mod there, but that's tier 1 ES percentage. One of the kind of cool things with this, if you are planning on going for the second socket, um, I would almost say, like, if you get 61, that's wicked, right? But because it can't be mirrored since it's corrupted, it's not nearly as imperative as if you have any intention of ever trying to mirror service it. Because obviously, if you're trying to mirror service it, that's pretty much a zero sum game from a crafter perspective, right? So like if somebody makes one that is the exact same except you have one tier 2 mod and they have one tier 1 mod, you have just manufactured your own obsolescence, and so it's um, it is I wouldn't say it's an absolute imperative, but it is, because there are scenarios where not having every single mod tier 1, you could still get mirror services, but when it's a new item, I mean, it's not technically a new item, but new runes, another tier 1, new runes on the essence just came out this patch too. Um, but also nobody likes a settler. All right. There's tier 1 ES again. Whoa, 2 to 3 fire damage to attacks, baby. That's a keep. I kid, of course. So we're down what, like 110. We've used 110 whittlings so far. So this will put us to 160. We've also used about what, 30, 25 sinestrals. Almost exactly, actually, in the ratio we planned for ahead of time. That T1 Life and the T1 ES mods, as you can see, there are quite common. We've hit both of them numerous times. Oh, sorry, I don't think I actually told you guys what the weights are. The prefix weights are at full item level 57,706, 57,705. That's not actually correct, I don't think, for this modifier. Saying that the total weight is now, this is definitely not a one weighting. This is probably also 1,000 per tier, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is definitely a mistake. So it's probably 57,000, 62,000. But we item level restricted, so that's out of the picture anyways, so nothing to worry about there. And we'd only have, well, we'd have these 4 still in the picture, so that would be 61,000. And then we've got the cold and the light, or the cold and the fizz already rolled on there, so 61,000. 61,705 or 700. 61,700 minus 7,800 from the fizz, minus 3,900 from the cold. 50,000, and then the weighting of tier 1 lightning is 200, and the weighting of tier 1 fire is 200, so 400, right? So divided by 400, 125 witlings on average. And yeah, I guess when I did the math the first time, I didn't notice the fact that these were only listed as 1, so it's slightly higher. How many did I say we've used already? We're at 110, so we're approaching, very fast approaching the average amount it would take. It's also possible, by the way, to hit T1 accuracy, which is something you could consider keeping. That would be primarily for a build playing Amazon. That's also item level 76. As soon as I bring up accuracy for the first time. Oh! Nope, tier 3. Okay, I think it's the closest we've got so far. Wait, did I need the Sinestral there? Ah, T3 fire. Okay, tied for the closest we've been so far. Boom! Hey! Let's go! Yeah! There it is, baby. Oh, 32% attack speed, plus 2. Tier 1 cold, tier 1 fire, tier 1 fizz. That's actually really sick too, because tier 1 fire, like flat fire or flat damage can come from either rings or from your gloves. It can also come on quivers, but unless you're playing a bow build, obviously you won't have a quiver. Now, lightning and cold, aside from the fact they're more common archetypes, are typically favored as a flat damage source because, aside from the fact they're more popular, because the ailments that they inflict are based on magnitude, so the size of the hit after mitigation. So like the size of a shock is based on how much lightning damage you actually deal to the mob after it mitigates it. And then chill has the same thing with its magnitude. And then freeze has build up, which is based on the damaging size of the hit. Ignite, however, as long as you have a single source of fire damage, you'll always ignite, because there isn't it doesn't it's based on like the size of the hit pre-mitigation and the source of the damage type, and it doesn't require crits anymore like PoE 1. Now, there are a ton of different things that scale, like Yoke of Suffering. You've got the passives on the tree that give like percentage damage for each elemental amulet on the enemy. There's another one up here that does the same thing, I believe. In this wheel up here. Yeah. So like you get 30% damage for each ailment on the enemy. That's 5 different ailments, right? That's 150% increased damage there. There's things where it's like volcanic eruption, where you can only get the projectiles if you're hitting an ignited enemy. Elemental expression, elemental explosion, all these different things where it scales off the amount of ailments that are on it. You can also use like, 3 dragons where ignites count as shocks, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. Anyways, getting ailments. I'm not. This is not a video about ailments, but there's a variety of reasons why you would want to have the ailment on there. And it's actually, if you're just trying to get flat fire, like you need a source of flat fire so that you can have, or for Trinity is another reason as well. Elemental exposure. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Not a video about ailments. But there's a lot of reasons why. However, right, it's like if you only have the option, assuming you're not playing a bow build, in which case you can go for it on your quiver, but quivers you can scale with quiver effect. So again, the point would be moot that I'm about to make for that as well. On rings, right, you're usually going to have, first of all, you have catalysts on rings, which increases the flat value higher, right? And so raising the flat value higher on fire as opposed to just having it uncatalyzed in the gloves makes no difference for the fire, but it does make a difference for the lightning and cold, even if they're your main damage types, because their elements are in play based on the size of the hit, right? So if you do want to have flat fire anywhere, having it on the gloves is the best source of it, because if you're trying to freeze or shock, and again, this is outside of the fact that there's a lot, obviously the vast majority of people are playing lightning builds, but there's also cold or cold conversion, and freeze is probably the strongest or most useful ailment. Not to mention it, freeze also can generate frenzy charges through charge infusion. You would want to get like fizz, lightning, and cold on your rings, because you could catalyze those on a breach ring 40% higher, or on like a penumbra or a dusk ring 20% higher. But again, on the gloves, no way to scale that further. So this is like literally perfect. I'm not just saying that either. Yeah, there's nothing about that I would change. Tier 1 cold, Tier 1 physical, Tier 1 flat fire, 100% increased socket, 16% attack speed, so 32% attack speed, and +2 to melee skills. And we'll just go through and see, just to confirm that that was the first one ever. We'll just look up just the 2 stats here, 100% increased effect and attack speed. All right, so there's crit bonus. This is attack speed and tier 3 dexterity. Attack speed and tier 2 dexterity. Attack speed and crit bonus. Attack speed and tier 2 dexterity. Attack speed and tier 3 crit bonus. Attack speed tier 4 crit bonus. Or sorry, attack speed tier 2 crit bonus. Attack speed tier 3 crit bonus. Attack speed fire. Attack speed crit bonus. Attack speed cold. Okay, online it's the only one. Let's check offline. Oh, there's one other one here, it looks like. But mine is better divined, and this one also, this one has lightning instead of cold. We've got a better divine on ours. This is also the wrong item level too, actually. So I will, it's still technical. Well, let's go through here first. I didn't see that one the last time I looked. Attack speed 14, and then melee skills +2. So there's only one other pair. He's locked in on the divine here. So we have a 16% attack speed divine, so ours is better. And we have cold instead of lightning. The vast majority of builds being that they're playing lightning builds, will already have a ton of flat lightning damage. I think cold flat there is probably better. It's going to vary. We already went over the benefits of each ailment. The fire is good there for the reasons we just talked about. And there's very few builds that are actually like pure elemental. They're typically fizz and they scale, or they convert, like your lightning spear, for example, is initial hit is 80% fizz converted to lightning, and then the secondary projectile 100% fizz converted to lightning. It's like that's the source lightning damage. The reason why triple flat has become incredibly prominent this league by and large has been because it's always very good, obviously, but it's especially dominant in the meta right now because Tangle Tongue is super popular and it has no flat damage on it, or not no, but next to no flat damage. So it was still technically a world first, but I'll give this guy his credit with respect to the suffixes. At least we did get beaten out by, what was that, 14 hours, and that's listed for 3 mirrors too. So we're not looking too shabby, and we've got the higher roll, so maybe world second, world first of this exact roll technically. But I'll still give another king his crown. Disappointed about that. Would have been nice to get the first one, but fuck, man. With respect to the craft itself, nothing better I could ask here. Like really happy with this. The cold flat roll is like perfect. The fire is like what, 5 or 6 off. The fizz one is a little bit lower than I'd like, but the attack speed is more important for sure. In particular, if you're using like a mirror spear like ours, which is 1009 PDPS. And again, you can get your flat sources elsewhere. Actually, the fizz is the least important, come to think of it, because you can get a rune. There's a new rune that gives flat fizz damage, but also because of this node, right? The flat fizz from Amazon, which is obviously the most popular build this league. So yeah, we definitely prefer the attack speed there. So that's great. Perfect gloves, boys. Hell yeah. What are we at now? 26 minutes. Tried to make this a bit shorter. Hopefully you guys watching on YouTube enjoyed. If you like crafting stuff, economy things, anything PoE related, if you're new to the channel, if you could subscribe, consider subscribing. Appreciate it. I'm sure you'll find some value in that. And for anyone else that's watching, or if you want to help me out, do all that YouTube algorithm stuff, like, leave a comment, notifications, blah, blah, blah. Feel so gross saying that every video, but they tell you to. Anyways, I'll try and drop something else soon. We've got a lot of crafting materials left over, and I got a ton of different crafts here, so see if we can pump out some other stuff for you and see what we can get done. Thanks for watching, fellas. Let me know if you have any questions or if you need anything explained that I talked about, and I'll be happy to reply in the comments. All right, see you next time, boys. Peace.